If you're like me, you may have grown up with Indiana Jones. You may have tried to struggle to find the right hat when you were a kid, the right belt to use as a whip, and ran around the neighborhood thinking that you were going on adventures for treasure hunts, sliding underneath your parents' garage and grabbing your hat. Whatever it was, you were out there with your imagination trying to make your dream of being Indiana Jones. Now, I'm an adult. I don't have to dream anymore. However, I am limited on a budget. There are a lot of Indiana Jones hats out there. And the official, I should say, hat that Dwarfman Pacific sells isn't quite right. And I'm sure many of you know that because maybe that was the first indie hat that you purchased. I myself almost purchased one. My older brother had purchased one, I think back in the 90s, late 90s. And it did the job, but it wasn't quite right. Crown wasn't high enough. It also wasn't as straight, kind of came in at an angle. It just wasn't right. Now, there are other hat makers out there who make more official versions, especially those who made them for the movie. But I opted for something that was a bit more affordable. This right here I bought from David Morgan, and it's an Akubra hat. And this hat comes from Australia, and I'll show you a little bit on the liner. And it's beautiful quality. If you look at the hat and the color, I'm not sure if you can quite see this, but if you go to their website, the picture looks a little bit dark. And the reality is it's more of a soft brown, like a darker brown, but soft brown. It doesn't look as dark as almost black as it shows in the photos online. The hat comes with this hat band, and the bow is a little bit off. I'm not sure if that's intentional, but if you see on this bow, and I'll give you a close-up, the back part of the bow actually comes up higher than the front part. And that is actually geared more towards the back, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. It actually adds a little bit of character. It seems like it's been on a little bit of an adventure. And they have you size your own head at home. And the way you do this is you take a measuring tape, and this one, I've got centimeters on this side, which is what you're going to need. And you're going to measure, and I was doubtful that this would work out perfectly, but man, this hat fits dead on. And you're going to measure around your head and go straight around the crown here. I have kind of a pointy part in the back of my head, which is perfect because if my hat sits just under that pointy part, it will always stay on, even in the wind. If I bring it around and I measure, it should have hit 57. And sure enough, I'm at 57 centimeters. And that is the perfect way to fit a hat. So if I put this hat on, you'll notice that it does not have the bashing done yet. This is an open crown, so it's nice and smooth all the way around. I have the opportunity to shape this hat on my own, which I have never done, but I have seen videos online on how to do it, including the one by David Morgan himself. You can use a closed steamer, you can use a steamer from like a kettle, a pot, whatever it is, maybe even from one of those diffusers. So I'm going to try that today, but I'll give you a little bit more on the close-up of this hat. What I'll do is I'll give it a little bit of steam here. Somebody said to go very slowly with this, so as you learn how to shape the hat, what I want to do is I want to try to get it to go maybe more towards the back and have the front be a little bit more pronounced. Let's try to get the dimples done here. So I'm going to go ahead and let this steam come on in. Let's do this side. Okay, got the steam going. Cool. Ooh, that's nice and soft. I like that. Good. That's kind of how I needed it. So my steamer gets pretty, I say steamer, pretty hot. And I'm gonna not quite give it a full-on pinch just yet, just because I'm trying my best to learn how to shape the hat correctly. All right, so far, this is kind of what I ended up with. Now I'm not quite finished yet, of course. I want to keep on going, but I'm doing my best not to let it get too crinkly. And that's something that can happen if you rush it, you don't get your steamer just quite hot enough. It can get a little rough, so make sure it's nice and hot while you're doing it. And as it cools down, it kind of stays there. So I'm going to stop right there and see what it feels like. All right, so I've finished. My hat shaping is done. I'm sure over time I'll probably do a bit more shaping, but as you saw with the steamer, it actually worked pretty well. It wasn't that difficult. And I could have gone for a specific look for one of the movies or something. I probably could have brought the brim of the hat in a little bit, or perhaps pinched a little higher, not gone as deep. But this is my hat. It is not Indiana Jones's hat. I know I'm not Indiana Jones. However, perhaps it builds a little bit of confidence when you put this thing on. I don't know. There's something about the hat that just makes you feel like you could go out there and grab a whip and swing across a branch or whatever it is, go on an archaeological dig, run away from the bad guys. This hat really does do something to you. So I highly recommend this Akubra hat. You can get it from David Morgan. And no, I'm not paid advertisement or anything. I just felt this good about this hat that I wanted to tell everybody, this is what you should get, especially if you're on a budget like me. So until next time, just remember when you're looking for a hat, X never ever marks the spot.